Hello. All right, listen, I just wanted to take 2 minutes and I wanted to talk about Columbus Day and why we should not be celebrating it. There are plenty of options out there. There's plenty of reasons why we should get rid of Columbus Day. And before that, let's go ahead and talk about how we got to this point. So, Columbus Day was created in 1937 by President Roosevelt. So Columbus Day was created for, out of the need to solve a problem that nobody knew really existed. There were several fraternal organizations. I believe the Knights of Columbus were one of them. Masons were another one of them. They were really looking for a Christian figure for all Americans to celebrate. And as they were throwing together names and putting people out there, Columbus is one of those names that was presented as an individual. And so a lot of people didn't know anything about Columbus back, prior to really the 1930s, 1940s. It wasn't a household name. But there was a book written by Washington Irving. I believe it was The Life and Voyages of Christopher Columbus, and that really is what popularized the idea that Columbus sailed the earth sailed the world to prove that the earth was not flat. But we know now, we knew then that it was really the 3rd century that some Greek philosophers living in Egypt actually predicted within 1 to 2% the full circumference of the earth. And Columbus actually disregarded most of that information and believed that the earth was about 1/3 of that size. So a couple other things, right? Talk about Columbus. So first of all, it's not, all right. So first of all, there was many things that Columbus is celebrated for that really we shouldn't, that make him an outlier. So first of all, so he's not even a Native American, or not a native to Americas, I should say. He, what other examples can you think of where there's a national holiday, a federal holiday for somebody who's not a native of that country? It's rare, right? And there are a couple of examples. If you look at like Christmas, Saint Christopher, but that's more of a religious thing. So beyond that, he never even stepped foot on Americas. At no point did he ever touch the soil of North America, or the United States, that we now call it right now. So I already mentioned that he didn't even discover that the earth was round. That was known about 1,700 years prior to him sailing the sea. He didn't discover anything. He's not a discoverer of anything. At no place, there's not one example of a place that Columbus went that he was the first one there. There were already native individuals, native peoples, every place that he went. So a couple of things that he is responsible for, though. So he initiated the transatlantic slave trade, where they went to the Caribbeans, they went to places like Haiti, and they took natives from that area, took them back to England, made them slaves. Eventually that morphed into the African slave trade. He is either directly responsible, or he was the one who requested it, or charged it, or encouraged the torture and murder of thousands of natives. Most of those natives, their crimes were only that they failed to do the things that he liked, right? They weren't subservient enough to him. He would have noses cut off, ears cut off. The natives, I believe it was in Haiti, were required to bring, so after he failed to find all the riches in America, he started forcing the natives on a quarterly basis, about every 2 to 3 months. They were required to bring him gold. And if they failed to bring him that gold on time, he cut off their hands. He just was not a good dude. He's not a good role model. He's not a good person for us to emulate. And there are a bunch of other better options for this country rather than celebrating somebody who committed atrocities and somebody that we celebrate for things that really would not stand or hold to this day. Throwing out some things that we could potentially replace Columbus Day with, because I'm not a fan of just saying, hey, let's get rid of something without another option. We could have an Indigenous Peoples Day. I will say, let me backtrack real quick. So it's not a foreign concept to think that we get rid of Columbus Day. There's already 2 states, Oregon and Washington, that do not celebrate Columbus Day as a federal holiday. They do, if I have it here somewhere. So the governors are required by statute to make a proclamation of the day, right? That it's Columbus Day, but they do not celebrate it. It's not a federal holiday in those states. There are several states that already celebrate an Indigenous Peoples Day, right? I believe they celebrate it on that day as well in conjunction with Columbus Day. I believe South Dakota and Wyoming are 2 of those states. I could be wrong. I apologize if am I wrong about Wyoming. But in addition, right, I think maybe one of the best things we could submit in place of Columbus Day is possibly a National Voters Day. National Voters Day? Currently right now in this country, we rank 26th of 32 countries in voter turnout. 26 of 32 democratic countries. That's terrible. That's an atrocity that our country just can't get together and allow people to vote. Make it easier for people to vote. Make it more important for people to vote. In our last presidential election, about 60%, I think it was like 61%, 62% of people voted in a presidential election. In all of our off-presidential elections, I don't think we've ever had more than 40% in our current generation. The last 40 years, we haven't had anything over 40%. That is terrible. If we were to create some type of, National Voters Day in place of Columbus Day, that could provide us, that guaranteed access to voting that everybody wants. It's better for Republicans. It's better for Democrats. If you allow your people who support your ideas to come out and vote, the more people that vote, the more we know what the representation of our country really is. And then the leaders can enact things for the majority of the people. But, if we're only getting 60% of the people to vote, that is not an actual representation of what the people want. So just a couple thoughts. Sorry, it took a little longer than I wanted. It ended up being about 9 minutes of this video. Thanks for watching.